Hello cave dwellers, and welcome to another of our Trash to Treasure series. This time it's an Amiga 500, a machine that's very close to my own heart, having been one that I owned for about 5 years as a kid. I never had reason to take it apart back in the day. It was a pretty solid little machine. Although I did add a CD-ROM drive, which was a terrible purchasing decision back in the day. Turned it into a CD-TV, which just flopped. So there was no software really to run on it. And a second floppy drive, which was a good investment. But then I sold it and moved on to PCs and haven't really thought about it until now, when I thought we could do with resurrecting one of these for the channel. So I found this one on a local classified ads. I paid £20 for it in a non-working condition, which I thought wasn't bad. I paid my £20, and as I was leaving with the machine, the lady who sold it to me said, "Do you fancy some games?" "Yeah, sure, why not?" And she gave me a box of games like Lemmings and Street Fighter 2 and things like that. The usual popular games of the time, nothing rare. And then she said to me, "Do you fancy a monitor?" Well, yeah, that would be nice. "How much do you want for it?" "Oh, you can have it, you can have it." So she produced this bad boy, a Philips CM883-2. It's in fully working condition, the picture's great, and it's not something I had back in the day. I always had a television set through the A520 TV modulator. So to have the opportunity to have a working Amiga 500 and to see it in its full glory on a monitor is something I'm really looking forward to. And that's not the end of it as well. When we open up this box, you'll see something a little bit special and a little bit different about this Amiga 500. I'm looking forward to showing it to you. So let's get stuck in.
Let's go!
Ah, the Amiga 500. Where dreams were made in the late 80s and early 90s, we were transfixed by titles from software houses such as Psygnosis, and waited with sweaty palms each month for the latest magazine and cover disc. In this pre-web world, public domain software seemed to offer unlimited titles. And of course, who didn't partake in a little software piracy? It is of course for these great memories and more that I've chosen to restore an Amiga 500, and after a little hunting on the local classified ads, I found something in an appalling state that's a little bit special. Let's take a look. The more observant of you may have noticed something a bit different about this A500. Aside from the covering of dirt, the giveaway is that on the left hand side of the keyboard, where you'd normally find an Amiga key, is a Commodore symbol. Keyboards with this symbol are known as a Space Invader keyboard. They share components with the A2000 and were replaced by a cheaper model keyboard that people liked less in the later models. It's an indication that this could be a very early model Amiga 500, or of course that keyboard could have been retrospectively fitted. The dirt on the keyboard is accompanied here by jam, paint, blood maybe? I don't know, but there's a lot of cleaning to be done. Regardless of the dirt, the lines still look as good as ever. The Amiga's predecessor, the Commodore 64, was affectionately known as the bread bin on account of its shape and design. No such shape on the Amiga. The ergonomic wedge shape gives way to rounded edges and rows of fins along the back of the case. The disk drive eject mechanism appears to work correctly, and all port and trapdoor covers are present and correct, so with a good clean, this should look as good as new. Question, however, is what lurks inside. Will the machine turn on, let alone operate correctly, and allow us to relive those gaming sessions, mega demos, stereo sound, incredible resolution and colour depth for the time, and all of those things that truly made this, in my mind, the first multimedia computer, long before the term had been coined. It would appear that I'm not the first to open this Amiga. Computer Care South in Reading have worked on this machine in the past, and their label replaces the Commodore warranty sticker. Now, the first thing to always check for on an Amiga 500 is a RAM expansion with battery backed up clock. That's because the real-time clock has a battery, and that battery, like any other in a computer of this age, is liable to leak everywhere. As luck would have it, we do have a Commodore 501 512K memory expansion board here, and there's no sign of leakage on the main board. We'll open this up a little later to see what the condition is like on the inside, but it's a good start. On first opening the Amiga, you're presented with a large amount of shielding, the keyboard, and a small PCB attached to the keyboard which houses the keyboard processor as well as the LED lights. The keyboard can be removed with a single cable, and unsurprisingly, there are signs of rust on this metal shielding. There are no signs that the side expansion slot has been used. This was an incredibly versatile port that exposed all of the signals from the 68000 CPU and effectively allowed you to override it, providing it was with a device that was compatible with the 68000, for example an accelerator board. But it could also complement the existing CPU in devices such as hard drives, the A500 CD-ROM drive, or the Action Replay device, used to enhance or hack games. Here's our first glimpse at one of the Amiga's many custom chips. Say hello to Denise. Thankfully, there are no nasty surprises waiting for us on the main board. The A500, unlike the A600 and 1200, don't contain the cheaper electrolytic capacitors that Commodore turned to save money. You will therefore find a lot less problems with leaking capacitors on A500s. It is possible, but it's a lot rarer. As we pan past the Motorola 68000 processor, clocked at just over 7 MHz, we find Denise again, responsible for handling most of the graphical related tasks, including the hardware sprites and those unusual screen modes such as ham or hold and modify, which allowed up to 4096 colours to appear in a 352x480 resolution screen, and you could hold the hue, for example, and change the luminance by altering only 4 bits, resulting in some of those high resolution colour cycling demos that you see on the Amiga. Paula was responsible for audio playback, floppy drive control, serial ports, as well as the mouse and joystick ports. And her neighbour Gary here, short for Gate Array, provides glue logic for bus control and various other functions that were built discreetly in the Amiga 1000, the computer on which this is based, in order to reduce costs. Fat Agnes, and well fed he may be because he has a big job to do. He's in overall control of the entire chipset's operation, far too much to go into here, but he does include the Blitter subcomponent, a feature used to rapidly copy video memory while freeing up the CPU to do other tasks. It allowed the Amiga to excel at certain graphical functions that its competitors couldn't touch. We can see here that this is a revision 5 Amiga 500 board. It went up to revision 8, which was the A500 Plus, and this design is named the B-52 Rock Lobster, so named after the band and the song. We can also see that this was manufactured in the 52nd week of 1987, meaning that this is indeed a Year 1 Amiga 500 correctly paired with that keyboard. My final check was to remove the shielding and check the rear of the board, again for any nasty surprises, and as you can see it's completely clean and looks to be in good condition. I'm genuinely surprised with how good this looks on the inside. And so to switch the Amiga on, and as advertised, nothing happens. No flashing LEDs or caps lock to give us any indication as to what the error might be, only a momentary click from the disk drive, and then nothing. This then, cave dwellers, is what we're working with, and this is our Trash to Treasure Amiga 500 series. I hope you'll join me for part 2, where we try to diagnose the fault and get this thing working again. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and come back soon. Take care, cave dwellers.